I'm inviting you to come be a judge at my bikini competition this summer. Some of the prettiest girls I've ever met in my life.
I'm in.
Huh? You're in?
I'm in.
Okay, here we go. I want to talk about the first time we met. I did a boot camp with Matador and Cosmo back in '07. I still talk to Cosmo all the time. And I don't know if you know this, but when you guys did the first season of The Pickup Artist, do you remember at the end you guys were at a strip club? Do you remember in Austin?
I do. I remember vividly.
That strip club I worked at for 4 years before I met you. I was the DJ there. It's so the irony. I remember I was in the military watching that episode. I'm like, dude, I worked there for 4 years. It was so I called the GM afterwards and he told me about the whole situation. The next boot camp, Matador asked me to come on because it was in Dallas, and I believe I met Love Drop there too. And when we went there, it was one of these things where I was like trying to help you with logistics. And you and I met for the first time. And I remember watching you emote to women in a way that I had never seen anyone do before. Like to the point, and by the way, guys, this is 2008. So girls weren't stuck on their phone in '08 because the first iPhone didn't come out until '07. The guys were all running around. And I remember we went to this place called Mantis. It was in Dallas, and there was a circular booth and you're sitting there talking to these two girls. And I got behind the booth and listened to every word you said. I was like, I'm here to learn. I'm not here to like try to have fun. This is all work for me. And I remember listening and hearing you getting girls to qualify to you in a way that I'm used to it, but at the time I'd never really heard before. And then, long story short, you ended up pulling two girls that night. But that was the first time we met, and it was a pretty different world back then. I mean, I think the whole world has changed. We did another boot camp in Scottsdale, and then we did another one in Los Angeles. And I remember at the LA one, you bringing out a Manila envelope. Do you remember the Manila envelope with the photos in it? Do you remember the photo routine?
That's right. That's right. Of course. I had a photo envelope with actual printed photos, old school.
Yes.
That's right.
And I remember that and showing you the iPhone 2, I think at the time, and we were both looking at it and you were like, what would a caveman 3,000 years ago is like a piece of glass and like you can make pictures move through it. And I was telling you, I remember at the time I was like, the photo routine is now here, right? And then the photo routine kind of moves to Instagram. It kind of moved to social media because social media hadn't really kicked off back then. And so the world has changed pretty significantly there. But anyway, that's how we met, and it was very impressive. And you and I kept touch for a long time after that. And I'm just curious, throughout your time period here, I want to say one of the seminal moments that I remember is the situation with Neil Strauss talking to Jessica Alba. Do you remember this?
I remember watching that and thinking he had a chance.
He had a chance, right? But
he's a lovely man. They would have enjoyed each other's company at the very least on an intellectual level, if not there was some sexual tension, perhaps.
No, I never told you this either. I became friends with Neil after you and I met back in 2012. I took Neil out to here in Vegas for his birthday, so we kept in touch just for a little bit back then. He was covering Skrillex when Skrillex won the Grammys, and that's where I met him. So it's funny. I met all three of you separately, and then Owen Cook, and I became friends around 2012 when I moved to Los Angeles. So I've never been in this room with the three of you at the same time, but I knew all three of you separately. But going back to that moment when we see this, there's a mainstream moment. You talk about them parodying you on Saturday Night Live. They make mention of you on like Big Bang Theory, all kinds of different stuff like this. Can you talk about that time period where you are in this book that is a bestseller, and then the show, the VH1, The Pickup Artist, comes out, and then all of a sudden it sort of like hits the mainstream?
Well, I think the day I really felt the fame kick in, I think that's what we're getting at.
Yeah,
is when I did Conan O'Brien. The very next day in New York City, everyone recognized me on the streets. It was a changing moment. The show certainly helped in creating a fame, but I think it's the internet that sustains it.
Yes.
So while I went to Hollywood, and I've been away from Hollywood for a good 10 years on multiple tours around the world with my good wingman Baxter, whom we'll get into talking about at some point, I hope. And I came back, and people were recognizing me still. So it's wonderful to be able to bring out the best in others when you meet them. It's great. I absolutely love meeting people.
I don't know if you know, there's a friend of mine, she's a playmate, CJ Sparks, and she had a question for you. She asked, did you ever hook up with anyone famous in the pillow pit? Does he know where Herbal is? And does he have any idea of the old homemade movies? And when is the last time he used the dual induction massage? That's what CJ wanted to know.
Those are a lot of questions.
Yeah.
All she's trying to do is tell her that she understands where I've been.
Yeah.
That's all. I've been around the block. She's read about me. That's what that's about.
Yes, that's
where did we begin? Let's
the pillow pit.
Play along. I like them. What's the first one?
Did you ever hook up with anyone famous in the pillow pit?
Well, in the pillow pit era, everyone's a starlet. in Hollywood?
For people who
Uh,
don't know, right there on Queens and Sunset, there was a house right above that Mel's Diner. That's where Project Hollywood was. We can say it now because they've torn the house down recently. Nice. And she also, CJ Sparks wanted to know, when was the last time you used the dual induction massage, or was that just a Neil thing?
that's more of a Neil thing.
Yeah.
That was more of a Neil thing, but it was a way of getting, of moving forward in that situation. Do you want to
The
tell people about
dual induction massage. He was in. It's in the book, The Game. It's funny because I was at Dan Bilzerian's house 2 days ago, and we were talking about this concept. Not the dual induction massage, but just Neil in general. Because Neil, for those of you who don't know, Neil Strauss did the first edit of Dan's book, The Setup, because Dan was such a fan of the way The Game was written. But in the dual induction massage thing, he's in a bathtub. He's like taking a bath in front of these girls or something like that. And then they were twins. Is that it? I'm trying to remember. I haven't read the book in like 10 years. But they were twins. And then all of a sudden they got to a deal where it's him and the girl, and they're giving a massage in like a circular motion, but it has to be the same circular motion. And then the two girls would do him, and then the one and the other girl would do, and then it would eventually lead to a threesome. That was the way it was presented in the book.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure he had a good time practicing that gambit.
Yeah.
That game piece. Sounds fun.
That's where the house was.
And replaced it with a better house.
Yes, it's a beautiful house. I actually, when Vince Kelvin was working there, I actually went in there. I saw the pillow pit. I saw all the rooms. That was the only time I've ever been inside of Project Hollywood. But there's been several other projects that have popped up since you guys did that. There's been 2 Project Las Vegas, there's a Project New York. They're all over the place. Project Miami that happened since you guys did that. But yeah.
Project San Francisco as well. I've been to their place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the pillow pit era. Talk about it.
The pillow pit era. Well, we're going back in time. What I would do is bring new friends back to the pad after night clubbing, after hours, throw people into the pillow pit. They'd lie down, and a projector facing the ceiling would show some 10-minute home movies. And I would just put a 10-minute home movie on and then say, hey, let's get out of here and let's go eat. And then we'd walk down to Mel's Diner. But in that time, they were in my house for only 10 minutes. But in watching a home movie, it was like hanging out with me, virtually for hours. And then we left the place, grabbed a bite to eat, and then welcomed them to come back for a hot tub. If they came back a second time, that was strong evidence that they were comfortable with their presence. That was a good game plan.
Yeah, I love that game plan. And I love the fact that you said when you bring back new friends. Like when I talk about this, because I have to explain, for me, because I have to deal with so many other pickup artists. I go on debates and we talk to them all the time, and I'm like, and sometimes they'll quote you, and I'm like, I know Eric and I know what he would believe here. The concept of going indirect, I actually got from you. The concept of like not overtly sexualizing. So you even said, when I bring back new friends, that's something else that I also sort of learned from you. I don't treat men and women any differently. Whenever I come up to them, everyone is just my friend. Some of the prettiest girls you've ever seen in your life. And by the way, I'm inviting you to come be a judge at my bikini competition this summer. Some of the prettiest girls I've ever met in my life. I come up to them like, what up, I'm like, what up, bro? And we'll just fist bump. I treat them just like my guy friends.
I'm in.
Huh? You're in?
I'm in.
Okay, here we go.
That is the dream come true. That sounds like great fun.